How good are the best YouTubers and Twitch streamers at poker? Following Ludwig's invitation, MrBeast, Ninja and xQc sat down at the Hustler Casino to show off their poker skills for real money at stake. Also in the mix were Alexandra Botez, Slime, Alan Keating and well-known poker pros Dwan and Phil Hellmuth. While everyone bought in for $50,000 initially, it didn't take them too long to build up stacks, rebuy and play for pots as big as $300,000 and even $400,000. In this video, we're gonna analyze the creators' play and come up with a game plan against each of these player types that you can apply against the opponents you are facing in your games. So let's get started and see how these guys did poker-wise, starting with our man Slime, co-host of the Yard podcast. Right from the beginning, he did nothing but put the foot on the gas. Calling, raising and 3-betting pre-flop and betting most boards post-flop, he proved to be one of the wildest players in the game. While he didn't play every hand, he also wasn't far from it. Open raising and 3-betting hands like King 3 suited, 9-6 off and 3 deuce off and never folding them to a raise is a little too loose if you really want to play profitably. That did show in his overall VPIP. 63% is simply too high if your goal is to win money in the long run. That said, his aggression, especially post-flop, did win him some hands and is generally not a bad approach to start off with because you can win the hand by making other people fold. You do want to use this aggression wisely though, and not try to bluff people who don't like to fold.
I'm all in.
He is all in. Good call. Wow.
On the flip side, because he was known to be bluffing quite a lot, he had an easier time getting paid off when he actually had a hand. He also admittedly got a bit unlucky in some spots, for example when he lost a hand against Phil Hellmuth due to a misunderstanding, which was also a bit questionable to say the least.
Hey, I thought you folded.
No.
Did you not fold?
No,
I didn't fold. I'm thinking.
Did you see?
I guess just take your money back. Or put in 5K.
Yeah, put in 5.
Put in 5,000. I gave you a pretty good deal. All right.
Against an aggressive opponent like this, there's one thing you definitely want to do. Slow play your strong hands. Let them put in money with their bluffs and cash in the profit. Also, you want to widen your calling range as they will just show up with more bluffs than they should. So even a medium strong hand will often be good enough. Pay attention though which spots they choose to bluff. Some aggressive guys simply barrel down every street with their bluff. However, Slime tended to bet once versus an opponent's check and then shut down if he faced a call or a raise. Next we got xQc, one of the top streamers of today. xQc played quite the opposite compared to Slime. He didn't raise much, but instead limped and called a lot of hands pre-flop. Among others, he limped hands like 9-5 off, Jack-5 off, 4 deuce off, and even Ace-Jack off. And called a raise with hands like 6-7 off and 9-6 off. These random offsuited hands are simply too weak, especially in an environment where pots like to get 5, 6 or even 7 way. In these circumstances, you want to play hands that have the potential to make big hands, like sets, straights and flushes. Also, you definitely want to raise good hands like Ace-Jack to prevent exactly these multi-way pots from happening, as it diminishes a lot of your equity. The same goes for just calling a min-raise pre-flop with pocket jacks instead of 3-betting and then folding an overpair on the flop because of the uncertainty that an 8-way pot brings with it. So overall, he would profit the most from adjusting his pre-flop play towards more aggression and letting go of playing these weak offsuited hands. Whenever someone plays passive and might even fold strong hands, it is time for you to put pressure on them. Raise a lot of hands pre-flop and c-bet them on the flop. By being passive, not only do they give up their own equity when they fold, they also let you realize all of your equity whenever they just call your bets and don't raise. So take advantage of that. Following that logic, whenever a passive player starts to be aggressive themselves, it is time to get out the pot as fast as possible if you don't have a monster. Exploiting their lack of bluffing, you can presume that they pretty much always have a strong hand whenever they start betting or raising. Alexandra Botez, the queen of chess. Over the last few years, we've already seen her get more and more into poker. That experience did in fact show. Not only did she end up winning the most money that night, she also showed one of the best poker understandings. Raising hands pre-flop that made sense, calling 3-bets where it was appropriate, and maneuvering through hands post-flop showed that she does have a solid approach to the game. And even though Phil Hellmuth didn't approve, even calling Ace-9 off against a shove with Ace-8 off when MrBeast was straddling for $26,000 was simply the correct play, as we can see in this custom-made simulation in simple pre-flop. Yeah, some bet sizings could have been better, but maybe she just thought exploitatively it would make sense against very loose players. But also in the great scheme of things, this is rather nitpicking. So overall, a very solid performance from Alex. Since she played quite solid overall, the ways of exploiting Alex's poker game aren't as clear cut, but it looked like overall she tended to be a little more on the sticky side, not liking to fold her hand that often. So I would lean more on the side of value betting thinly against her. Also, I didn't note any big bluffs from her, which also makes a lot of sense in that environment, but it just goes to show that whenever she's making plays like betting pot on a 4-way flop, just get out and know you're probably not being bluffed. Alright, next is Ninja. #1 Twitch streamer of all time. After ending up all in the very first hand, he proceeded to enter the game cautiously by limping and calling a lot of hands. One of them even being Ace King, which he just limped and even called against the raise. As already mentioned with xQc, hands like these definitely want to be raised at some point pre-flop. However, it actually ended up winning Ninja a whole stack against the overly aggressive Alan Keating, who just jammed his pair of sixes into Ninja on an ace-high board. As the night went on, Ninja started to be more aggressive and raised more hands pre-flop such as pocket deuces, queen 10 suited, ace king and 9-10 off, and even made some moves to take down the pot post-flop.
And Ninja's gonna raise.
You could definitely see that he picked up many things throughout the session and learned quite quickly what works and what doesn't. Also, he showed a good sense for when second pair was not worth a lot, such as in this 7-way pot. And when it was.
Slime is going to bluff at it because he kind of has to. And
he picked up players' tendencies.
I need you to know that I think he has literal shit because he bluffs more than anyone at this table.
You think he bluffs more than anyone at this table?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Do you see where my finger's pointing?
He bluffs 100% more than anyone at this table.
And knew how to get max value with the nuts.
30.
45,000 is the raise.
All in.
Ninja all in. And remember, Ninja showed him the cards, showed Phil the cards, and then went all in.
Of course, he still had quite some flaws, like sizing errors and picking not the best hands to 4-bet fold, for example. But for a guy who hasn't really played much poker at all, I'd say this was definitely a good performance with a steep learning curve, and you could see the potential in his play. And he also knows how to suck out on Phil Hellmuth. What more do you need? While he learned a lot throughout the night, it seemed like Ninja tended to overvalue his hand a bit too much, especially pocket pairs. So against his pre-flop aggression, it is a good idea to fast play your strong hands pre-flop and take your unmade hands to the flop, where he played quite honest and fast played his good hands and was passive with his weaker holdings. And since he is able to figure out other players' tendencies, just make sure he doesn't view you as a bluff-heavy punter, and you might also get him to fold a marginal hand when he doesn't show a lot of strength. Ludwig, former Twitch streamer and now primarily on YouTube, organized this game. He played really well. His pre-flop game was very solid, being selective with his choice of hands and playing them aggressively when he chose to play. A lot of his sizings were pretty accurate. He folded a lot of weak hands, even when he was already invested in the pot, and even some strong hands when necessary. He almost always had a very good grasp of his relative hand strength and the choices of action he effectively had.
Well, are you trying to decide how much to raise it?
Yeah, I'm debating all in or not. It's all in or fold these days for me. I'll fold.
Also, one more thing
I'm all
that
in.
singles him out from all other creators and makes him, for me, the creator with the best poker play that night is the fact that he really thought about which line would make him win the most in a hand. Watch how he carefully thinks about which action would get him the biggest payout against Alan Keating, who's known to be a wild player who can show up and bluff with any two cards.
I mean, obviously beat Jack 9, King Jack. Ludwig's been playing relatively tight, it seems like, in some of these re-raise situations, so.
Ludwig's going to check it back and just induce Alan.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I swear to God, that was like, go do this.
I think Alan knows he probably doesn't have a queen.
And she's like, I got you. And he goes,
You said flush draw.
50,000.
Oh, that is the definition of a snap call.
Unlike most other guys, he didn't just play his hand according to his hand strength and instantly decided on his action. He also took into account the other player's possible ranges and matched his action according to it. Like when he sensed there weren't any big hands in the other player's ranges, and he could only get paid a small bet in this pot when he had trips.
Ludwig makes a please call me bet.
I do literally
And he gets the call.
Yeah.
Let's play.
Nice play by him.
Ludwig had actually played some live poker before and is a fan of the game, which you can see by the several times he has made content about poker in the past. It definitely showed that night in a great performance. Now, of course, Ludwig isn't a GTO bot that isn't exploitable and crushes 500 zoom on PokerStars. But I'd like to use his example to point out a concept that is still very much overlooked and goes as follow. Don't go after the best players at your table and try to beat them. If you have a table full of guys who happily donate their money to you, don't let your ego get in the way and try to prove you can outplay the strongest players in your game. Phil Hellmuth also applied this when he had a decent hand but decided to let it go against the best player at the table because he could just play way more profitable spots against anyone else at the table. So know where your EV is coming from and go after it. Last but not least, we got Mr. YouTube himself, MrBeast.
Do you play a lot of poker? Are you like an avid player?
No.
More than 160 million subscribers across 6 channels on YouTube, and allegedly $54 million in YouTube earnings in 2021, MrBeast was on a mission to beast his way through the poker night as he usually does through the recommended page on YouTube. And he surely did, averaging a whopping 75% VPIP and a 27% pre-flop raise. He played almost every hand he got dealt. He started by limping a lot, raising a little here and there, but folding if there was massive action.
I've 9-8.
MrBeast might be taking a Mr. Beat here.
You had me beat.
Wow, that's a great fold.
As the night progressed, he got more and more aggressive, betting basically every time he flopped any piece of the board, going all in with marginal hands, and even calling all ins with hands like Jack Deuce offsuit and Queen 6 offsuit. Now obviously that isn't a winning strategy. However, we need to focus on MrBeast's incentives.
Yeah, I just want one Twitter clip where I walk away with 300K.
He's known for not really caring about money,
I don't care about making money.
but instead all he wants to do is create entertaining content.
I just want to make better videos. I just want good videos. Make better videos. Making the best videos possible, period. I just want to make the best videos on the planet.
With that in mind, his play is actually the best strategy to achieve his goal.
It is great content. But you know what? I've been making too much content and not doing enough winning.
You're right.
And it might even be more profitable for him in the long run as well, as the attention he might get through clips going viral can lead to him gaining more viewers and followers. And also, he can still just flip against Alan Keating going all in blind and win 3 for 3 to end the night up 400k. Simple as that. So of course pre-flop you only want to play your good hands against this maniac-like play, but it's also worth taking a deeper look at the post-flop tendencies players have. MrBeast in particular tended to bet all his flush and straight draws as well as basically any pair on the flop. Against a deep polar betting strategy like this, you want to be even more aggressive with your strong hands. Build the pot when they are unlikely to fold because they already told you they have flopped something, and let them pay to see further streets. You definitely don't want to bluff catch against a deep polar betting range, as they can just show up with a hand that is actually too weak to value bet. Phil Hellmuth had to painfully witness that.
Queen of hearts, 5 of hearts.
Another great value bet, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like impossible that I could ever be losing in this game. The man just bet a queen 5.
for a living?
I called 5,000 under the fucking gun. I gotta have 9s or above, and he bet a queen 5 for value on the river. What?
I love playing against you. It's free money.
You do get the money, and you get the money in pretty bad against me.
This video was a little less technical, so if you want to build up your game to be equipped against tough opponents, go ahead and watch this video.